Okay, all praises to the Most High. I want to give all praises to the Most High. We do so by Hashem Yahweh Shai. I'm brother Yakayar with the Genesis camp, and this is my brother Rock. And we want to go over a lesson real quick that's real detrimental to our community. Been plaguing our community for a long time. And you can see the title says police unable to resolve grudge. Miami Gardens man fatally shoots brother with rifle after putting knife down. Right. So we want to go over some scriptures real quick to display how we really supposed to move as brothers and sisters as we got to go through this walk. We want to get the first scripture out. Leviticus 19 and 18.
Con, Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18. Thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord.
I am Yahweh. The Most High gave us a commandment that we shouldn't be bearing any grudges or holding any hatred in our heart against our own people, against our brothers and sisters. All right. So what we've seen in the title is just that. We've seen a brother that shot another brother because he had some hatred in his heart. All right, let's go to 1 John chapter 4 and verse 20.
This is 1 John chapter 4, verse 20. If a man say, I love God, and hateth his brother, he is a liar. For he that loveth not his brother whom he hath seen, how can he love God whom he hath not seen?
How can you love the Most High? You got to ask yourself this question. How can you love the Most High and you sitting here holding grudges against your brother over something probably petty, over some, somebody doing some wrong to you or some hurt to you, and you say you love them, but you don't love them because the Most High gave you a commandment, right? You don't hold any grudges against your brothers or against your sisters, against the people of your nation, right? He calls you a liar. You don't want to be in that number where you called a liar. But how can you love your brother how can you not love your brother that you can see and hate God pretty much that you can't see? So Laki, how can you say you love your brother?
How can you say you love God?
Khan, how can you say you love God and you hate your brother? It's not possible. So the Bible calls you a liar. You don't want to be a liar at all. Um, Next, I believe we want to go to Matthew 18:22. Matthew 18:21 to 22.
This Matthew chapter 18, verse 21 in the NLT. Then Peter came to him and asked, Lord, how often should I forgive someone who sins against me? 7 times? No, not 7 times, Yahweh Shai replied, but 70 times 7.
So Yahweh Shai was asked the question, how many times should I forgive my brother or somebody in my nation that wronged me? How many times do I gotta forgive them? He says to them, he says, 7 times? Do I count how many times I forgive somebody that did some wrong to me? Yahweh Shai said, no, 70 times 7. Meaning, don't so much worry about counting on how many times somebody did you wrong, but practice on your showing mercy. All right. Practice on not holding a grudge. Right. Practice on the spirit of that part of the law. Not so much uh the times that somebody wronged you, right? Um, let's get some example here. Let's go to Genesis 37. Genesis 37. Um, it goes back to the story of Joseph.
We'll start at verse
Genesis
3.
37. Con,
Genesis chapter 37, verse 3 in the NLT. Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other children because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day, Jacob had a special gift made for Joseph, a beautiful robe. But his brothers hated Joseph because their father loved him more than the rest of them. They couldn't say a
con,
kind word to him.
con. So that's wickedness. That's wickedness right there. When you hate your brother so bad that you can't say a kind word to him, that's horrible. Not only that, but this is 12 brothers. This is the second to the smallest brother right here. Like all you brothers is older than him. You hate him so much you can't even say a kind word to him. We deal with that, and you can bring that out to today. We deal with that today. Like a lot of parents, they got their favorites or whatever. It is what it is. So you grow envious and jealous towards your own brother or your sister. It could be your uncle. It could be whoever they putting over you, right? It could be maybe a friend or something of yours that you're going to school with. I don't know why, but it could be anybody, any Israelite that you are jealous about because of whatever reason. In this case, Joseph was uh being envied by his brothers. So let's read on.
One night, Joseph had a dream, and when he told his brothers about it, they hated him more than ever. Listen to this dream, he said. We were out in the field tying up bundles of grain. Suddenly, my bundle stood up, and your bundles all gathered around and bowed low before mine. His brothers
You
were
see that? You see that? So they already hated him and didn't couldn't find a kind word to say to him. And now he's coming with this dream. And this dream made that jealousy and that envy grow even more in their hearts. Right? Can you keep going?
his brothers responded, so you think you will be our king? Do you? Do you actually think you will reign over us? And they hated him all the more because of his dreams and the way he talked about them. Soon, Joseph had another dream, and again he told his brothers about it. Listen, I have had another dream, he said. The sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed low before me. This time, he told the dream to his father as well as to his brothers. But his father scolded him. What kind of dream is that? He asked. Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow to the ground before you? But while his brothers were jealous of Joseph, his father wondered what the dreams meant. Soon after this, Joseph's brothers went to pasture their father's flock at Shechem. When they had been gone for some time, Jacob said to Joseph, your brothers are pasturing the sheep at Shechem. Get ready, and I will send you to them. I'm ready to go, Joseph replied. Go.
You see that? So this whole time, Joseph, he had no idea how angry his brothers was, right? He had no idea about that. He just a young lad, young boy, and his brothers, they got all this hatred built up to him, but he ready to go and do what his father says and go find his brother, do a kind act, right? And go find his brother so he can bring back his father a report. Keep going.
Go and see how your brothers and the flocks are getting along, Jacob said. Then come back and bring me the report. So Jacob sent him on his way, and Joseph traveled to Shechem, for their home is in the valley of Hebron. When he arrived there, a man from the area noticed him wandering around the countryside. What are you looking for? He asked. I'm looking for my brothers, Joseph replied. Do you know where they are pasturing their sheep? Yes, the man told him. They have moved on from here, but I heard them say, let's go on to Dothan. So Joseph followed his brothers to Dothan. So Joseph followed his brothers to Dothan and followed them there. When Joseph's brothers saw him coming, they recognized him in the distance. As he approached, They made plans to kill him. Here comes the dreamer, they
See that?
said.
See that hatred, Salakia, that hatred building up, right? That hatred's building up. And now mom and dad's not around, right? The ones that favor him, they're not around now. So here we go. Let's see what his brothers decide they want to do since he's got no protection around now. They feel like they can get away with whatever uh jealous and envy that's in their heart. Let's see what happens. Keep going.
Come on, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns. We can
Wow.
tell our father a wild animal has eaten him. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams.
Wow. So this is this is what this is what we see today, right? You have this hatred built up in your heart, right? And I'm talking about nationwide, all across, especially America. So you got this hatred built up for your heart for a certain brother or sister that might have wronged you or whatever. And when the opportunity presents itself, you got a decision. You can make the right choice or the wrong choice. You can forgive, or you can just go ahead and be wicked, right? Uh, keep going.
But when Reuben heard of their
Go ahead.
scheme, he came to Joseph's rescue. Let's not kill him, he said. Why should we shed
So
any
it's
blood?
right. So it's somebody with some sense, somebody with some remorse, right? But being that he's outnumbered, he went on ahead with the crowd. He said, "You know what? Hey, let's read on. Let's read on and find out what else happened here."
Why should we shed any
Oh, yeah.
blood? Let's just throw him into this empty cistern here in the wilderness. Then he'll die without our laying a hand on him. Reuben was secretly planning to rescue Joseph and return him to his father.
Mm. See, Reuben, he was the remorseful one. He was like, nah, this ain't right. This ain't right. Right. So the Most High is so gracious. He always leaves a way for you to escape that sin. Right. This was their way. Right. But they made a decision. Uh they made a decision, a wicked decision, but we all know the story of Joseph. We just reading through it because it needs to be read. But they made a decision, and it was out of jealousy and it was out of hatred, right? Even though Reuben wanted to uh not forego this, he still let it happen, right? Where we at? Verse 26,
23.
23. Okay, con. Let's
So
keep
when,
going.
so when Joseph arrived, his brothers ripped off the beautiful robe he was wearing. Then they grabbed him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty. There was no water in it. Then, just as they were sitting down to eat, they looked up and saw a caravan of camels in the distance coming
Mhm.
toward them. It was a group of Ishmaelite traders taking in a load of gum, balm, and aromatic resin from Gilead down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain by killing our brother? We'd have to cover up the crime. Instead of hurting him, let's sell him to those Ishmaelite traders. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." And his brothers agreed.
So they all agreed. Even Reuben, the one that at first said, nah, we don't, let's not kill him. They all agreed out of this grudge that they had because Joseph had a dream, because Jacob favored him over all the other all the other ones, right? So they all made a decision together, one consent, right? Um, they didn't decide to kill him though. You know, it's still wicked, right? Uh, either one. If they killed him, if they sold him off to slavery, they never thought they would see him again. So that's just as bad as killing him, right? And then to the enemies they sold him to another nation. God, so can we keep going?
Count one more verse.
Okay.
So when the Ishmaelites, who were Midianite traders, came by, Joseph's brothers pulled him out of the cistern and sold him to them for 20 pieces of silver, and the traders took him to Egypt.
So they got money for him. So they ended up getting some money for Joseph. Not just what's the point here? Uh and they ended up selling their own little brother. Right? This isn't somebody that can defend themselves or anything like that. This is somebody that they supposed to be protectors of. You know what I mean? It's usually the same people in your house that you don't even suspect would have some type of envy, and you don't even know it. Joseph didn't know that they felt this way about him until he got there. And they decided, hey, let's rip this robe off of him. This nice robe that Pops made for him. Let's rip it off of him. How you like that? What about your dream now? This is all the type of stuff that they were saying in their head amongst each other, right? So that envy builds up. You don't want to have that in your heart because it starts off small, but then it just grows into something. And next thing you don't know where you're gonna end up, dead in jail. You don't know. So this is a sin that they did against him, right? The Most High commands us to not hold any grudges against your people. All right. So we got to pay attention to that as we walk every day. Um, yeah, verse 31.
So we're going to Genesis 41 and 33 now to show the what transpired after they did this to Joseph and where he ended up.
Okay. Okay, Con. 33 to 40.
Genesis 41 and 33. Therefore, Pharaoh, right, in the NLT, therefore Pharaoh should find an intelligent and wise man and put him in charge of the entire land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh should appoint supervisors over the land and let them collect 1/5 of all the crops during the 7 good years. So what happened here? You want to give them a little bit of what happened here? You want to explain it or you want to read it?
Con. So when they sold Joseph to into Egypt, Joseph had basically been thrown in jail. He lived in Potiphar's house first as a slave, and then he got uh he got falsely accused by his wife, Potiphar's wife, and then his wife got him locked up. Right. So in that in that jail where he was at, there were some I believe it was a cook and a cup holder, or cup bearer, or something like that.
Uh,
And they both of them had dreams. And Pharaoh had I'm sorry, the Pharaoh had a dream. And and they Pharaoh sent for all the wise people in his whole land that he was over, so that he could get somebody to interpret the dream. Nobody could interpret the dream. But while Joseph was locked up, these two guys, they had dreams, and Joseph interpreted those dreams for him. So Joseph got out. I mean, so when these guys got out, one of them got killed. The other one was able to tell Joseph, tell the Pharaoh that Joseph was able to interpret dreams. So the Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and Joseph went to the Pharaoh. He interpreted his dream, and now he had this status. The Pharaoh gave him the status as the governor, second in command over all the land of Egypt. So now we're catching up to Genesis 41 and 33, where it explains that Joseph got his power. Joseph got power over Egypt now. So verse 33, I'm looking for it
Genesis,
right here.
Genesis 41 and 33 in
Okay.
the NLT.
Uh,
Therefore, Pharaoh should find an intelligent and wise man and put him in charge of the entire land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh should appoint supervisors over the land and let them collect 1/5 of all the crops during the 7 good years. You want to explain what that situation, what his dream was about? Was
Con,
about
the dream was about the interpretation of the dream was Joseph told Pharaoh that there was going to be 7 years of plenteous harvest and then 7 years of famine. So it's going to go into this. So this is part of that. This is part of the first 7 years right here that we're going to read that that Pharaoh is giving his power to Joseph.
Verse 34. Then Pharaoh should appoint supervisors over the land and let them collect 1/5 of all the crops during the 7 good years. Have them gather all the food produce in the good years that are just ahead and bring it to Pharaoh's storehouses, store it away and guard it so there will be food in the cities. That way, there will be enough to eat when the 7 years of famine come to the land of Egypt. Otherwise, this famine will destroy the land. Joseph's suggestions were well received by Pharaoh and his officials. So Pharaoh asked his officials, "Can we find anyone else like this man, so obviously filled with the Spirit of God?" Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has revealed the meaning of the dreams to you, clearly no one else is as intelligent or as wise as you are. You will be in charge of my court, and all my people will take orders from you. Only I, sitting on my throne, will have a rank higher than yours."
So what happened is Joseph being sold into Egypt, he ended up getting blessed. That ended up being a blessing for him because he went from a low status to now the second in command, only outranked by the Pharaoh himself. Right now, this whole thing is unbeknownst to his brothers though. So we're gonna find out what type of man Joseph had grown into, how the Most High was working with him, right? Um, we're going to go to Genesis 42.
Right, we're going to give you all the whole story. Genesis chapter 42, verse 1 in the NLT. When Jacob heard that grain was available in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why are you standing around looking at one another? I have heard there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy enough grain to keep us alive. Otherwise, we'll die." So Joseph's 10 older brothers went down to Egypt to buy grain. But Jacob wouldn't let Joseph's younger brother, Benjamin, go with them for fear some harm might come to him. So Jacob's sons arrived in Egypt along with others to buy food for the famine that was in Canaan as well. Since Joseph was governor over all Egypt and in charge of selling grain to all the people, it was to him that his brothers came. When they arrived, they bowed before him with their faces to the ground.
Um,
Joseph,
so when that has to sound familiar, right? You go back to the beginning of the story. Joseph had a dream that this would happen. So now this is coming to fulfillment, right? He said, "Y'all gonna bow down." What did they do? What did they do? They laughed at him. They laughed him to scorn. Uh, and then on top of that, uh, they hated him even more after the dream. And when they sold him into captivity, this was their aha. We got you. You ain't coming back from this, right? This is our revenge for you strutting your pride because you daddy's favorite baby, right? Because that's how they took it. Um, but let's read on some more.
Salaki,
Um,
Salaki, and understanding that the things that Jacob's brothers did to him having this position of power, now now would be a good time for him to hold this grudge, right?
Khan,
He could hold a grudge against his brothers for this, and he got the power to do as he will, whether he's going to feed
Khan,
them or not.
Khan. Um, yeah, definitely. He he could really put a hurting on him. I mean, anybody uh living today will be looking for that payback, right? We'll be looking for that payback. But when the Most High is dealing with you, you don't move like that, right?
Right.
You don't really move like that. Um, where we at verse number
6.
6. All right, number 6.
Genesis 42 and 6 NLT. Since Joseph was governor over all Egypt and in charge of selling grain to all the people, it was to him that his brothers came. When they arrived, they bowed before him with their faces to the ground. Joseph recognized his brothers instantly, but he pretended to be a stranger and spoke harshly to them. Where are you from? He demanded. From the land of
Mm,
Canaan, they replied. We have come to buy food. Although Joseph recognized his brothers, they didn't recognize him. And he remembered the dreams he had about them many years before. He said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see how vulnerable our land has become." "No, my lord," they exclaimed. "Your servants have simply come to buy food. We are all brothers, members of the same family. We are honest men, sir. We are not spies." "Yes, you are," Joseph insisted. "You have come to see how vulnerable our land has become." "Sir," they said, "there are actually 12 of us. We, your servants, are all brothers, sons of a man living in the land of Canaan. Our youngest brother is back there with our father right now, and one of our brothers is no longer with us."
uh. So he's not talking harsh to them for the reasons of payback, because he wants payback. All right. Joseph is a smart man. All right. The Most High is dealing with him through the Spirit. So because it says he's talking harshly to them, that's not his payback. All right. He's got a method. So um let's read on to find out. Let's read on to find out what that is a little bit later on. It's gonna pop up. But interesting so far. We're on verse 14.
Come. But Joseph insisted, "As I said, you are spies. This is how I would test your story. I swear by the life of Pharaoh that you will never leave Egypt unless your younger brother comes here. One of you must go and get your brother. I'll keep the rest of you here in prison. Then we'll find out whether or not your story is true. By the life of Pharaoh, if it turns out that you don't have a younger brother, then I'll know you are spies." So Joseph put them all in prison for 3 days. On the third day, Joseph said to them, "I am a God-fearing man. If you do as I say, you will live. If you really are honest men, choose one of your brothers to remain in prison. The rest of you may go home with grain for your starving families. But you must bring your younger brother back to me. This will prove that you are telling the truth, and you will not die." To this they agreed. Speaking among themselves, they said, "Clearly we are being punished because of what we did to Joseph long ago. We saw his anguish when he pleaded for his life, but we wouldn't listen. That's why we're in trouble."
Mm. This is that guilty conscience right here coming into play. It doesn't say that Joseph was pleading for his life while they were selling him to Egypt, to the Ishmaelites. It didn't say that Joseph was pleading for his life, right? But now it's bringing that a little more clear. Joseph didn't want to go. Joseph was like, why y'all doing this? No reason. No, he had no idea why they were doing it, right? And I could have just imagined them like, you got uh 10 brothers, big brothers, big brothers over top of you. Like, yo, you going. We don't like you, right? What can you do? So he was pleading for his life, and now they got the guilty conscience. Oh, this is why this is happening, because of what we did back then. Now they're trying to be all honest with Joseph, right? They're trying to be all honest. They're telling everything truthfully now, right? But they still got that sin that's hanging on. It's hanging on to them, and mm, they kind of showing remorse right now because of they're in trouble, right? But that's what happens when you have that guilty conscience on you. You start coming, everything starts coming out of your mouth. You start telling the truth and everything, right? So where we at? Verse number 22. It's kind of Father in heaven. Let's get this Salakia. We kind of freezing up a little bit here. Can you hear me? Yeah, you frozen.
Slot. And and we see that with
Oh,
this,
it says
like
that
this brother,
he's not responding.
Slovakia. It's kind of breaking up.
A little bit. Maybe give it a little. Yeah, go ahead.
Slovakia.
I can hear you. Fine.
Like, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Fine, I
Can
can hear
you
you,
hear me?
brother.
And
I can
just
hear
like
you.
that
Can you hear
brother
me?
who shot his brother, you mean, like sitting in that kind, and just like this brother who
Oh,
shot his brother, you mean, like he didn't he regretted what he did, just like how these brothers, Joseph brothers, regretted what they did to him. Now that they're being punished for this act, when this brother went to jail for this, and he had, whether he was high or whether, when he got over his emotions, over his feelings, I mean, that's what it's all about. It's over your feelings. His grudges come from feelings. So just like how his brothers felt bad now that they having to pay for this, when this brother that shot his brother, I mean, when it was time for him to pay for this, and he's sitting in that prison, like he would do anything to change what he did. You know what I mean? And it's all over a feeling that you're going to get over one day, but you can never take back the things that you did to your fellow brother.
uh,
Can you?
it's definitely hard. It's definitely hard to get that back. You'll never get that back. Once that moment, once you ring that bell, you can't unring that bell, brothers. Whatever happened,
Mhm.
happened. You know what I mean? It's in the books, and they sold their brother. You know what I mean? When you read this story, it kind of hits home because we see a lot of this kind of stuff happening today. Not somebody selling their relative into slavery or so. I mean, you got trafficking out there. You got sex trafficking and all kind of other stuff out there. But I mean, um, yeah, you kind of can see the same thing happening today. And then what happens when you get in trouble? You want to pray. Now you want to be holy. Now you want to get righteous. But you got to pay for what you did. Number one.
Um,
Um, we're on verse number 22
20. Count.
or
Genesis
23.
42 and 22. Genesis 42 and 22 in the NLT. Didn't I tell you not to sin against that boy Reuben ass? But you wouldn't listen. And now we have to answer for his blood. Of course, you didn't know that Joseph under. Of course, they didn't know that Joseph understood them, for he had been speaking to them through an interpreter. Now he turned away from them and began to weep. When he regained his composure, he spoke to them again. Then he chose Simeon from among them and had up tied him up right before their eyes. Joseph then ordered his servants to fill the men's sacks with grain, but he also gave secret instructions to return each brother's payment at the top of his sack. He also gave them supplies for their journey home.
So even though he's kind of punishing his brothers for doing what they did, he still knows about his family back home, and he got to take care of them. It's a famine going on, or it's a famine about to be going on, right? So he wants to make sure that everybody don't pay because of what his brothers did. Right now, it's between us. It's between you. Y'all did this to me. I'm just getting my little bit back right now. I ain't gonna fully, you know what I mean? I ain't gonna fully take you out or nothing like that. But hey, something got to give, right? Righteously though,
Mhm.
righteously, right? He's not. He's not. Well, I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna give away the story. We're gonna read it. But he's not. Actually punishing them, right? He's showing them their ways, really.
Okay.
Um, Let me see what's that? Be right before your eyes. Okay, Con. We could go on 25, unless you got
26.
a point.
No, first
26.
Genesis 42 and 26 NLT. So the brothers loaded their donkeys with the grain and headed for home. But when they stopped for the night, and one of them opened his sack to get grain for his donkey, he found his money in the top of his sack. Look, he exclaims to his brothers, my money has been returned. It's here in my sack. Then their hearts sank. Trembling, they said to each other, "What has God done to us?" When the brothers came to their fathers Jacob in the land of Canaan, they told him everything that had happened to them. The man who was governor of the land spoke very harshly to us. They told him. He accused us of being spies scouting the land, but we said we are honest men, not spies. We are 12 brothers, son of one father. One brother is no longer with us, and the youngest is at home with our father in the land of Canaan. And the man who was governor of the land told us, "This is how we'll find out if you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me and take grain for your starving families and go on home. But you must bring your youngest brother back to me. Then I will know you are honest men and not spies. Then I will give you back your brother and may trade freely, and you may trade freely in the land." As they emptied out their sacks, there in each man's sack was the bag of money he had paid for the grain. The brothers and their father were terrified when they saw the bags of money. Jacob exclaimed, "You are robbing me of my children. Joseph is gone, Simeon is gone, and now you want to take Benjamin too? Everything is going against me." Then Reuben said to his father, "You may kill my two sons if I don't bring Benjamin back to you. I'll be responsible for him, and I promise to bring him back." But Jacob replied, "My son will not go down with you. His brother Joseph is dead, and he is all I have left. If anything should happen to him on your journey, you will send this grieving white-haired man to his grave."
Con. Before we read chapter 43, look what his brothers are calling him, calling Joseph. They're calling him the man, the governor, the man who is the governor. They don't even know it's him. Of course, they don't know it's him. But he's playing them so much that he's making them feel so guilty about what they did, and he's like the boogeyman to them. That guilt has them rushing, has them, their mind is going everywhere. It could be this, it could be that. I don't know how we got the money. What's God done to us? They don't know what's going on. All right, so they looking for something to come out of anywhere to get to get them for what they did to their brother, but they don't know that that man that they talking about is their brother. So he's kind of playing with them, you know what I mean, righteously, just so they can feel a little bit, just a little bit of displeasure. And remember, not just, it's not nothing to do with the family. That's why he sent all the money back with him, and he sent uh all the food back with him. Like he didn't take anything from his family. That's his family. So he's just playing with his brothers. Like, look, this dream came true, and y'all acting it out right now. But I'm gonna show y'all something. Um,
It's a lot.
you want to add something too?
Yeah, and he's not holding a grudge. I mean, he could have
No.
punished them all together. It's so much more that he could have did. You mean, and he gave him back the money and he gave him the grain. That's just to show how we need to be with each other. I mean, when things happen to us, when our people do us wrong, we want to go out, we want to act out. I mean, but this is our family, this is our people. Why hurt somebody because you've been hurt? And you mean now you want to cry when bad things happen, because every time you do something wrong against your people, the Lord
Hmm.
always makes it come back to your mind. You always think about that. And when things happen, the first thing you think about is what I did. Damn, I'm paying for what I did, man. You know what I mean? But these are things we
Con,
gotta think about before we get there. You know what I mean? So we could avoid this punishment.
con, con. Um, yeah. This all started from, remember, this all started from that little bit of hatred that they had for them, for their brother Joseph. That's how this all started. So it starts off with a little bit of envy, a little bit of hatred, and then it grows into something bigger that you're gonna regret later.
Yeah.
So what we trying to teach is how to have a spirit and obey the commandments before any of that happens, before it gets to that point, because we don't want to lose our brothers and sisters at all, right? Mm. You can go into so much more, but um, let's continue chapter 43.
42.
Sure? 42?
Huh.
We just read 42. We just read 42.
Right there with our father right now. 43, Salakia. Why it's not going? Hold on. Genesis 43, verse 1 in the NLT. But the famine continued to ravage the land of Canaan. When the grain they had brought from Egypt was almost gone, Jacob said to his sons, "Go back and buy us a little more food." But Judah said, "The man was serious when he warned us. You won't see my face again unless your brother is with you. If you send Benjamin with us, we will go down and buy more food. But if you don't let Benjamin go, we won't go either. Remember, the man said, you won't see my face again unless your brother is with you. Why were you so cruel to me?" Jacob moaned. "Why did you tell him you had another brother?" The man kept asking us questions about our family. They replied, he asked, "Is your father still alive? Do you have another brother?" So we answered his questions. How could we know he would say, "Bring your brother down here"? Judah said
And
to his
and
father.
and, and real quick, when you make these decisions, you're not the only one that's being affected. Joseph is grievously worried about his sons, all of them, right? He
Jacob.
lost one. Jacob. I'm sorry. Um, he lost one. He thinks he lost one already, right? And because they sold him into uh Egypt, they're basically, or he's basically like, yo, why am I losing all? Why do I have to lose all of my sons? So he's where we read it up in let me see. Let me go back to how much he was worried. Let me see. In verse 38, in chapter 42. Let me read it. I'll read it real quick. It says, "But Jacob replied, my son will not go down with you. His brother Joseph is dead, and he is all I have left. If anything should happen to him on our journey, your journey, you would send this grieving, white-haired man to his grave." He's worried about dying for worrying. So you're not, you gotta think as a nation instead of an individual. When you do things that are outside of the Most High's commandments, sinning, it doesn't just affect you, it affects the whole nation, it affects your whole family, your whole community. All right, so you got to keep that in mind. Um, we on verse number 6, is it?
Number 8.
Con, we on verse number. Oh, we on verse number 8. Okay, Con.
Yeah. Genesis 43:8 NLT. Judah said to his father, "Send a boy with me, and we will be on our way. Otherwise, we will all die of starvation. And not only we, but you and our little ones. I personally guarantee his safety. You may hold me responsible if I don't bring him back to you. Let me bear the blame forever. If we hadn't wasted all this time, we could have gone and returned twice by now." So their father Jacob finally said to them, "If it can't be avoided, then at least do this. Pack your bags with the best products of this land. Take them down to the man as gifts: balm, honey, gum, aromatic resin, pistachio nuts, and almonds. Also take double the money that was put back in your sacks, as it was probably someone's mistake. Then take your brother and go back to the man. May God Almighty give you mercy as you go before the man, so that he will release Simeon and let Benjamin return. But if I must lose my children, so be it."
Mm,
So, so the men,
mm. Yeah, I'm sorry, Salakia. Um, yeah, that was heavy. That was heavy right there. Like the feeling that Jacob had. Like, look, so be it, right? If I gotta lose all my son, this is how worried he was. Um, we can continue 15.
so the men packed Jacob's gifts and doubled the money and headed off with Benjamin. They finally arrived in Egypt and presented themselves to Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, He said to the manager of his household, "These men will eat with me this noon. Take them inside the palace, then go slaughter an animal and prepare a big feast." So the men did as Joseph told them and took them into Joseph's palace. The brothers were terrified when they saw that they were being taken into Joseph's house. "It's because of the money someone put in our sacks last time we were here," they said. He plans to pretend that we stole it. Then he will seize us, make us slaves, and take our donkeys." The brothers are so that was my fault. It says
Yeah, it kind of froze up.
the brothers approached the manager of Joseph's household and spoke to him at the entrance to the palace. "Sir," they said, "we came to Egypt once before to buy food, but as we were returning home, we stopped for the night and opened our sacks. Then we discovered that each man's money, the exact amount paid, was in the top of his sack. Here it is. We have brought it back with us. We also have additional money to buy more food. We have no idea who put our money in our sacks." "Relax, don't be afraid," the household manager told them. "Your God, the God of your father, must have put this treasure into your sacks. I know I received your payment." Then he released Simeon and brought him out to them. The manager then led the men into Joseph's palace. He gave them water to wash their feet and provided food for their donkeys. They were told they would be eating there, so they prepared their gifts for Joseph's arrival at noon. When Joseph came home, they gave him the gifts they had brought him and bowed low to the ground before him. After greeting them, he said, "How is your father, the old man you spoke about? Is he still alive?" "Yes," they replied. "Our father, your servant, is alive and well." And they bowed low again. Then Joseph looked at his brother Benjamin, the son of his own mother. "Is this your youngest brother, the one you told me about?" Joseph asked. "May God be gracious to you, my son." And Joseph hurried from the room because he was overcome with emotion for his brother. He went into a private room where he broke down and wept. After washing his face, he came back out, keeping himself under control. Then he ordered, "Bring out the food." The waiters, Salakia, the waiters
So,
served Joseph.
go ahead.
The waiters
Go ahead.
served Joseph at his own table, and his brothers were served at a separate table. The waiters served Joseph at his own table, and his brothers were served at a separate table. The Egyptians who ate with Joseph sat at their own table because Egyptians despise Hebrews and refused to eat with them. Joseph told each of his brothers where to sit, and to their amazement, he seated them according to age, from oldest to youngest. And Joseph filled their plates with food from his own table, giving Benjamin 5 times as much as he gave the others. So they feasted and drank freely with him.
Fine. So
Genesis 44.
Joseph, Genesis 44. So Joseph is still being kind to them, showing them kindness, right? But he still hasn't revealed himself to them. And how emotional he got when he saw his brother Benjamin lets you know what type of character he has. Um, and he let his brothers come in to his palace and eat with him, right? So, things are starting to lighten up now between Joseph and his brothers, even though they're still scared of this man, the governor. um, let's go into chapter 44,
Genesis
unless you got a
44.
point.
No, Genesis 44 and 1. When his brothers were ready to leave, Joseph gave these instructions to his palace manager. They'll fill each of their sacks with as much grain as they can carry and put each man's money back into his sack. And put my personal silver cup at the top of the youngest brother's sack, along with the money for his grain. So the manager did as Joseph instructed him. The brothers were up at dawn and were sent on their journey with their loaded donkeys. But when they had gone only a short distance and were barely out of the city, Joseph said to his palace manager, "Chase after them and stop them. When you catch up with them, ask them, 'Why have you repaid my kindness with such evil? Why have you stolen my master's silver cup, which he uses to predict the future? What a wicked thing you have done.'"
You
When the
see
po-
that? You see that? Joseph setting them up. Joseph setting them up. He's teaching them a lesson. He's teaching them a lesson. And he's trying to get them in a position to where he can show the total message of his lesson, right? Because these are his brothers. He wants to take care of them, but he got to teach them a lesson. And plus, you know, the Egyptians, they despised the Hebrews, it says. So he's being careful about that too, right? Wise man Joseph was. We in verse number 6.
44 and 6. When the palace manager caught up with the men, he spoke to them as he had been instructed. What are you talking about? The brothers responded. We are your servants and would never do such a thing. Didn't we return the money we found in our sacks? We brought it back all the way from the land of Canaan. Why would we steal silver or gold from your master's house? If you find his cup with any of us, let that man die, and all the rest of us, my lord, will be your slaves. That's fair, the man replied, but only the one who stole the cup will be my slave. The rest of you may go free. They all quickly took their sacks from the backs of their donkeys and opened them. The palace manager searched the brothers' sacks from the oldest to the youngest, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. When the brothers saw this, they tore their clothes in despair. Then they loaded their donkeys again and returned to the city. Joseph was still in his palace when Judah and his brothers arrived, and they fell to the ground before him. What have you done? What have you done? Joseph demanded. Don't you know that a man like me can predict the future? Judah answered, Oh, my Lord, what can we say to you? How can we explain this? How can we prove our innocence? God is punishing us for our sins. My Lord, we have all returned to be your slaves, all of us, not just our brother who had your cup in his sack. No, Joseph said, I will never do such a thing. Only the man who stole the cup will be my slave. The rest of you may go back to your father in peace. Then
Joseph had a plan. They trying to mess it up, talking about we're gonna all come back and be your slaves. Nah, Joseph, this got to go the way I want it to go. Y'all had y'all time, right? I gotta teach y'all. So this is what he's doing. Huh.
Then, Ju- then Judah stepped forward and said, Please, my Lord, let your servant say just one word to you. Please, do not be angry with me, even though you are as powerful as Pharaoh himself. My Lord, previously you asked us, your servants, do you have a father or brother? And we responded, Yes, my Lord. We have a father who is an old man, and his youngest son is a child of his old age. His full brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother's children, and his father loves him very much. And you said to us, Bring him here so I can see him with my own eyes. But we said to you, my Lord, the boy cannot leave his father, for his father would die. But you told us, unless your youngest brother comes with you, you will never see my face again. So we returned to your servant, our father, and told him what you had said. Later, when he said, Go back again and buy us more food, we replied, We can't go unless you let our youngest brother go with us. We'll never get to see the man's face unless our younger brother is with us. Then my father said to us, As you know, my wife had two sons, and one of them went away and never returned. Doubtless he was torn to pieces by some wild animal. I had never seen him since. Now, if you take his brother from away from me, and any harm comes to him, you will be sending this grieving white-haired man to his grave. And now, my Lord, I cannot go back to my father without that boy. Our father's life is bound up in the boy's life. If he sees that boy is not with us, our father will die. We, your servants, will indeed be responsible for sending that grieving white-haired man to his grave. My Lord, I guaranteed to my father that I would take care of the boy. I told him if I don't bring him back to you, I will bear the blame forever. So please, my Lord, let me stay here as a slave instead of the boy, and let the boy return with his brothers. How can I return to my father if the boy is not with me? I couldn't bear to see the anguish this will cause my father.
hmm So now this is gonna put a little wrench in Joseph's plan. Joseph Joseph wants to do his own plan. But now that he got the information from his brothers that his father would die if you don't let Benjamin come back with us, let's see what Joseph does now. And these brothers are being truthful to Joseph now because they know his power. They don't want to mess up anything that Joseph's got going on, or be found a liar because of how harsh he's treating them. Um, so we're gonna read chapter 45 and end it right there. And we got a couple more scriptures we want to pull out.
Genesis chapter 45, verse 1 in the NLT. Joseph could stand it no longer. There were many people in the room, and he said to his attendants, "Out, all of you." So he was alone with his brothers when he told them who he was. Then he broke down and wept. He wept so loudly the Egyptians could hear him. And word of it quickly carried to Pharaoh's palace. "I am Joseph," he said to his brothers. "Is my father still alive?" But his brothers were speechless. They were stunned to realize that Joseph was standing there in front of them. "Please come closer," he said to them. So they came closer, and he said again, "I am Joseph, your brother, whom ye sold into slavery in Egypt. But don't be
Hmm.
upset. But don't be
Right.
upset." So
I'm sorry. Right. So now's the time he reveals himself to them. Right. Um, they were oblivious to the whole matter. Like, this is like, whoa, wait a minute. I could imagine it probably looked like the facial expression probably looked like they seen a ghost. Yeah. Whoa. But at the same time, it's like, wow, you the governor over here. That's why you've been playing with us. It's a relief now. Like, oh man, we thought we thought you were gonna, somewhere down the line just kill us, or make us slaves anyway, right? But now it's probably a big relief, because they found out that this is our brother now. Uh, Joseph couldn't help but be kind after they told him, about their father and everything. He couldn't help it because that's the spirit that the Most High gives you. You can't be wicked. You can't be wicked at all, and you can't, like, but when you're trying to teach them a lesson and something, information like this of importance comes to you, then you gotta break character, and you gotta just, hey, look. So this is what Joseph did. Um, uh, I mean, the story really explains itself. So I'm gonna let you keep going,
uh,
Shalakia.
verse 4, "I am Joseph, your brother, whom ye sold into slavery in Egypt. Don't be upset, and don't be angry with yourselves for selling me to this place. It was God who sent me here ahead of you to preserve your lives." And so, like, let me expand on that. Like, a lot of things that our people go through when they dealing with their families, and they blame their families for things that they went through. Families didn't help them out with this, help them get out of jail, or you've been wicked your whole life, and your family, they just done with you. You mean, and now you in this predicament that you in. Like, a lot of people blame their parents or blame those who did something to them, but really who you blaming is God. It's God that you really angry with, because the Most High got full control over everything that happens in your life. So the predicament that you in, and the position that you in, is of yourself because you made the decisions that you made. But the Most High wants you in this position. There's a reason. And Joseph, being a brother that was harmed and all that, now he became governor over Egypt. It was all so that the Most High can get him in second in command and have control over this grain, so that this famine was going to come. The Lord already knew this famine was going to come before Joseph even got sold into slavery, and just so that he can take care of his family, man. The same family that did him dirty.
Mm. Ah, yeah, I think that's the heaviest part of this whole story right here. Um, yeah, Khan. That's the heaviest part because nowadays, what would the average person do that was wronged like Joseph was wronged? I'm the boss now. Get out of here. Go. throw him in jail, never see him again. You thought you were gonna get over on me? Boom, I got over on you. What you gonna do now? All right, we want revenge. Uh that's just the natural instinct of man is that we want revenge. Like for somebody that did something wrong to us, automatically we want our get back, right? But it takes the spirit of the Most High. It takes having Yahweh Shai in your life to be able to overcome those emotions and uh that fleshly lust. Honestly, is what it is because you're thinking on a physical level, but this is all about spirit. This is all about spirit. I would say that a real man does not move off of emotions, and this was exactly what Joseph was doing, right? But his brothers, they were doing the opposite at the time when they sinned. But I'm pretty sure they learned their lesson. You know what I mean? Albeit what happened happened. So um, that's the heaviest part of this whole message is not holding a grudge. Joseph didn't hold a grudge, right? His brothers, they got a hold of that envy, they got a hold of that grudge, and they say, okay, boom, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's sell him. First, let's kill him. No, wait, let's sell him. Right, Con, what verse we on, Sherrod?
We on
Are we on verse
verse
number
4,
10?
verse number 4,
Verse number
verse number 5. Honestly, the point is done. You mean like his brothers? I mean, if you want to keep going, we can keep going. But
Con, oh, Con, yeah, Con. Um, yeah, I think it's done too. I mean, he ends up just taking care of his family at the end, right? After he reveals his identity. So I don't think we have to go any further really. I don't know how long we are on this video right now, but yeah, I think that'll do it right there. Uh
we got a couple more precepts though.
yeah, we do. But but brothers and sisters, read the story on your own. All right. I challenge you. I challenge you not to tear up and not to learn a valuable lesson. Right. So we want to move on now to Luke chapter 23, verse 34. I'm sorry, verse 32 and 30 to 34. Luke chapter 23, verse 32 to 34. You get it
Kind
in the NLT.
of, kind of Luke chapter 23, verse 32 in the NLT. Two others, both criminals, were led out to be executed with him. You want to give an explanation of what's going on here?
This is Yahweh Shai uh about to be crucified. Um, but it's very interesting what he does pertaining to the topic that we're getting into today. Um, not holding a grudge. So we went over Joseph, what it looks like to not hold a grudge and what it looks like to actually keep Leviticus 19 and 18 in real time. So now this is the Messiah himself showing that example and displaying uh that obedience to the Most High, even though he was done wrong. He was done wrong by his own people, right? Well, they said crucify him, right? They uh they wanted to get they wanted to let an actual criminal free instead of letting him free, who did nothing but try to help them and try to heal them. So can you read it one more time?
Luke
Um,
20,
I'm
Luke
sorry, go ahead.
20, Luke 23 and 32 NLT. Two others, both criminals, were led out to be executed with him. When they came to a place called the Skull, they nailed him to the cross, and the criminals were also crucified, one on his right and one on his left. Yahweh said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing. And the soldiers gambled for his clothes by throwing dice.
So even through all of the rejection and all of the whole process of being crucified, Yahweh still said, forgive them. He asked the Father to forgive them, right? Um, that's that's the greatest display. I believe that's the one of the greatest displays, and I'll say that of forgiveness right there. Right along with all the other prophets and martyrs that died on the behalf of the Most High or in His name. Um, so that was Luke. Y'all want to go to that? It's Luke chapter 23, verse 32 through 34, showing how Christ was even willing to forgive because he's the ultimate, he's the master, he's the master teacher. So he's teaching us exactly what we need to be doing. Forgiveness, mercy, righteousness. Right? And live an example of that. We want to go to First John, unless you got a point on that too.
Wow.
Let's go to First John chapter 5 and verse 2.
First John chapter 5, verse 2. By this we know that we love the children of God when we love God and keep his commandments.
Uh, um, this is basically how we know we love the Most High when we love, oh, how we love the children of the Most High, our sisters and brothers, when we love the Most High and we keep His commandments. Very simple, right?
That's a lot. And one the commandment we bringing out today is not to bear a grudge against the children of thy people. So, this is how we love each other. The way that we love each other is by not holding that grudge. I mean, you did me wrong, but I gotta forgive you 70 times, 7 times. I still gotta love you. I don't gotta like you. But I have to love you and I have to cherish your life more than how you made me feel. So, if not, it's going to become a time when, just like how you seen Joseph's brothers when they regretted everything they did, and it would have all been better if they would have just got over it.
uh, um, good point. Good point. Want to move to the next precept. Um, Matthew 22, 36
Hmm.
to 40.
Matthew chapter 22, verse 36. Master, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Yahweh said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment, and the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets.
All the law and the prophets are fulfilled when you love the Most High and you love your neighbor as yourself. Um, that word love. Can we get that? Uh, can we get that love real quick? What is love? Is that First John? Is it 5 and 3? Is that where it's at? Or is it
First John chapter 5, verse 3. For
uh,
for this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous.
con? So when we talk about love, that's what love is, keeping the Most High's commandments. They're not hard. It's not hard to uh not hold a grudge against your brother. It's just a mind thing. That's all it is. You just got to make your mind up that you love your brother, you love your sister, no matter if they harm you, if they wrong you or not, right? And this is how you love the Most High, by keeping His commandments. Um, because I don't want anybody to get confused on what the biblical definition of love is. It's not that mushy emotion that modern day they use that word. They just sling it around like it's you know, some type of I don't know, butterfly or something, feeling mushy gushy and all of that. We talking about action. Love is an action word, right? Um, so let's go to the last one we're gonna cover in Mark 11 and 26, which is the heaviest one. Um,
Con.
Mark 11 and 26. Can we read it?
Mark chapter 11, verse 26. But if you do not forgive, neither will your Father which is in heaven forgive your trespasses.
There you go. So, it was a sin what Joseph's brothers did to him. It was a sin. They held a grudge, which caused them to go into that action of selling him to Egypt. It was a sin, right? So if Joseph hadn't forgiven his brothers and treated them well, guess what? He would have been forgiven of the father, right? So that's the same type of move we have to make. We can't have something happen to us, a brother or sister do something wrong to us, and then especially something petty. I mean, anything really, but especially something petty that he say, she say, gossip, garbage. Um, talk it out, and get to the bottom of the matter. Because, like I said, uh, that little bit will start growing. That little bit of hatred, envy, jealousy, it start growing, and then the next thing you know, somebody hurt, somebody dead, somebody in jail. You lose a family member, and you regret later on. Um, Ultimately, though, we want to be forgiven by the Father. All right, that's what counts the most. If we don't forgive our brothers and sisters, we're gonna hold that grudge, right? So that's what that's there for. That commandment is there to secure your own forgiveness of the Father, right? I'm gonna end it right there. Um, how do we end this, Sherrod?
Yeah, salute out of this thing, call, and all praise to the Most High, man. I mean, you've seen these brothers, like bro just said, man. A lot of our people, we hold grudges over small matters, and then we end up hurting each other over it. And we see examples with Joseph. He literally got sold, man. He was taken from his family, he was taken from his house and put into a stranger's land, and he was put as a slave and as a prisoner. I mean, and he held his ground, he held his faith because he stood serving the Lord in that place. And the Most High put him in a position to where he was able to help his family. And that's what he did. He helped his family. I mean, even though what his
Mhm.
family did to him. So, I mean, that's the type of example we need to live by. And the greatest example was Christ, who the word called Christ, Yahweh Shai. I mean, they killed him. They voted for him to die. They wanted him dead, our people.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And he chose to forgive them, man. He told the Father to forgive them. He told God to forgive his people. I mean, and you can hold a grudge. I mean, people hold grudges over smaller things. So, I mean, we just got great examples of these people with this Bible, and the Most High gave us this Bible so that we have examples to live by, because our community doesn't have instruction. But these laws, statutes, and commandments are the instructions that we need to live by so that we can have a kingdom. Without instructions, we can't live in the kingdom, man. I mean, and the Most High giving us a kingdom, a promise of a kingdom, as long as we love each other and love the Most High. So there's something for y'all to think about, man. We're gonna continue doing these commandments. We're gonna bring out the 613, Lord willing. You mean, so we can help y'all follow these commandments and know what they are and how to do it. You mean, so with that, we're gonna say all praise to the Most High God Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai and Shalom.
Shalom, shalom.